let's take a look at some of the headlines across Nigeria this morning. We have the Daily Times, we have the Punch newspaper, as well as the Nation newspaper. These are the three papers we'll be looking at this morning. And I have with me in the studio Smart Akweju. Smart, good morning. Good morning. It's good to have you join us. And Dari, thank you very much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, let's start right away. Snatch ballot box, risk your life. Buhari is saying that on the front page of the Daily Times. A directive will trigger crisis and anarchy. PDP is saying that. And INEC, PDP planning to rig elections, say Oshomole. And then if we move to the Punch newspaper, it says outrage as Buhari says death awaits ballot box snatchers. It's a call for extrajudicial killings. Dogara and civil rights group saying that. And if we move to the Nation newspaper this morning, the front page headline there says revealed PDP's $3 million per state cash for vote plot. All right, as ex-INEC chief named in deal and peace panel member romances opposition and party denies claim. All right, those are some of the headlines this morning. But Smart, let me start with you. Let's go back to the Daily Times. One of the stories here that will interest you will be in the inside on page 6. Poll shift, Jonathan urges Nigerians to embrace peace. A lot of comments have really come when it comes to this shift in the polls by INEC. What do you think, a call by former president, how far would this go?
Well, first, I think everybody have said, let us embrace peace and keep our fingers crossed while we go for the election on Saturday, because at this stage, we must not do anything contrary that will not make that election hold. But quickly, let me also join in my condemnation for the poll shift. Look, as far as I'm concerned, Mahmoud Yakubu have no business remaining there after that announcement shifting the election. In the first
place, the shift is enough to call for his resignation?
It is immediately.
Okay.
In the first place, we shut down the nation for the whole of Saturday. There is no nation that is done. There is nowhere in the world that is done. Shut down a nation because of an election, and midnight election was now postponed. And given a reason for logistics, in the first place, INEC had since March, since October last year, preparing for this election. Now there is this is not an issue that those materials for the election arrived late.
Okay.
We had
so as far as you're concerned, there is no justification for this shift
whatsoever.
Especially when you're citing
all the CBN offices all over the federation should have had all the materials ready in their vaults at least a week to the election.
All right, Dari, on the Punch newspaper this morning, if you open to page 9, Saraki supports 30,000 minimum wage, 30,000 naira minimum wage, says aid. Now, this 30,000, the minimum wage issue is still on. What do you think?
Well, the federal government and the state governors will still have to find a way of agreeing on what exactly should be paid.
But it's been sent to the National Assembly already.
Yeah, but that's the National Assembly. The state governors will pay. And already some of them are raising issues. 30,000 naira, we can't pay. At 18, we have some of them complaining. I won't subscribe to a situation yet in Nigeria where we'll have the states paying different wages, especially something different from what the federal government will be paying. But if we must insist that the wage should be, uniform, then the governors will have to sincerely, you see, when we pay lip service to issues in Nigeria, we sweep it under the carpet, leave it for a while, and then we come back to it. Don't forget that the implementation of this new minimum wage is not starting immediately.
Yes.
What we are dragging up to now is agreeing on what to pay. Now, okay, the National Assembly says 30,000 naira. The federal government said this, and the state governments are on the sideline watching. By the time we spend months, as it is, agreeing on what to pay, the elections will come and go. Probably new governors
and
will
we'll
come.
Be back again with
then
the
we'll be back again. We never agreed. Yes,
okay.
we did. Then no, we told you then we won't be able to pay.
All right.
And then it drags us back.
Okay. The Nation newspaper, if you open to the page 7 of the Nation newspaper, there's this INEC OK's resumption of campaigns. Now, Smart, let me come back to you on this. INEC, there was controversy the past few days when INEC was saying that despite the postponement of this election, that parties should not resume political campaigns. But this, they've had a U-turn now.
First, I listened to Mahmoud Yakubu. You see, we have laid down procedures. We have laws governing a nation. It is clearly stated that all election campaign will end 24 hours before an election. If you have extended the election date, definitely, automatically, you have lifted the campaign. So you have no right again saying, and even they ask him. Ordinarily, that question shouldn't have come up. But since that question came up, he should have used the opportunity to clarify and said, of course. But him saying that it is not possible, I don't know. Like I said, Mahmoud Yakubu has no cause being there, remaining there.
Dari, your comment on that briefly
like
before we go.
I said yesterday, he appears dazed by the events happening around him. The professor became confused, obviously, because in one breath, he said all campaigns are suspended or has ended. In another breath, he himself said no political actor is silent. So, two contradicting statements.
Okay. But the most important thing now is that campaigns can now resume.
Of course,
until
there was
Thursday.
His statement had no binding on the politicians in the first place or the contestants. Our laws are sacrosanct. 24 hours to an election, you stop campaigning. Then we have a week to election, and you say, no, you can't. It won't hold water anywhere.
All right.
He only saved himself from being despised by making that U-turn.
All right, Dari, thank you very much for coming. Smart, thank you so much for coming as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's time to take a look at the stories making the headlines this morning, and we still have our guests to review the papers. Smart Akpejiri, Dari Odufowokon. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying with us.
Thank you.
Now, let's quickly head straight to the papers. I'll start with The Punch. Major headline, outrage as Buhari says death awaits ballot box snatchers. It's a call for extrajudicial killings, Dogara Civil Rights Group. And then we'll move on to The Nation. A major headline here says, revealed PDP's $3 million per state cash for vote plot. Ex-INEC chief named in deal. Peace panel member romances opposition. Party denies claims. And then we'll move to the Daily Times. Snatch ballot box, risk your life. Buhari. Directive will trigger crisis. Anarchy, the PDP says. INEC PDP planning to rig election, says Oshomole. But right now, let's go back to The Punch and look at this story once again. The Saraki support for the 30,000 naira minimum wage, it says the aid. Now, there were allegations, Smart, that Saraki was against the early passage of the minimum wage bill. So one wonders, what is the motivation this time? Well,
you see, things like this, more especially if it's coinciding with electioneering time, too many informations will be flying around. I want to take his word. Saraki is in support of 30,000 naira, and since he have said so, I think I want to stand by that. First, like I've always said, and because the Constitution allows it that, look, it is the federal that legislates as it concerns minimum wage. States could go beyond, or what they could go beyond, but they cannot go below. They cannot go below.
Yeah.
As it is, I think it should not be a debate. We should not even be discussing paying 30,000 naira minimum wage. We should not be discussing it at all.
Why?
The reason why we should not be discussing it is that when you look at the humongous amount that the salaries and allowances that our legislators receive, and we're not talking about a peanut, which is 30,000 naira. How much is 30,000 naira? Can 30,000 naira can 30,000 naira take you home?
Okay.
Even somebody, even new couples, what will 30,000 naira do? So we should not even be discussing it. Long ago, this should have been a foregone issue.
All right, let's bring Dari to this issue now. He's saying that we shouldn't politicize this matter.
It's politicized already.
It is? Is that what it is?
Politicized already, especially with this statement from the Senate president at this time. It's mere window dressing.
Really?
Yes,
how do you
because Senate President Bukola Saraki was in this country all the while. while the debate over minimum wage rate. He carries weight. He is the sitting Senate president. His voice in this earlier than now could have helped shape the direction the discourse would have gone all the while. We had governors prevaricating on what to do. We had the Labour insisting. The discourse didn't start from 30,000 naira.
Of course.
Labour started from 50, 55,000 naira. There were debates. Government went as low as 22,000 naira. That was the era when voices like his were needed. We were to have the National Assembly elections last Saturday. It was postponed. Then the aide to the Senate President suddenly remembered that the Senate President is in support of 30,000 naira minimum wage. I think it's a way of politicizing something that is strictly concerning the welfare of the Nigerian worker. And if we continue to play politics with issues like this, we won't really go far as a country that cares about its workers. Okay. The workers live in the same country we all do. They go to the same market. And if the politicians earn so much, yet the workers earn so little, and all we do is bring about politics when it's time to discuss their welfare, then we are not being fair in any way.
All right, thank you, Smart and Dari, for your contribution on the newspaper review this time.